Mean absolute deviation. The mean absolute deviation is the average distance between each data value and the mean. Find the mean absolute deviation of the following data. Here are 5 quiz scores. Step 1 is to find the mean, so you add all the scores together, divide by the number of scores, which is 5, and we get 84 as our average score. Step 2, find the absolute deviation. To do this, you need to subtract the mean and each data point. Then take the absolute value of each difference. So for our score of 65, we take 65, we subtract the mean, 84, we get negative 19, then we just take the absolute value of that and we get 19 as our absolute deviation from the mean. So we can do that for each score, like that. Step 3, find the mean absolute deviation. To do this, find the mean using the absolute deviation numbers. So here's our last column from the previous slide's table with all of our absolute deviations from the mean, and we're just going to average these together. So we take the average of those 5 numbers and we get 11.2. So the mean absolute deviation is 11.2 points. This means that the average test score is 11.2 points from the mean of 84. Comparing two data sets. The number of goals scored by the players on the boys and girls lacrosse teams are displayed below. Compare the variability of the mean goals scored for both teams. Step 1, find the mean for each team. Alright, so we have all the work here. For the girls team, we take all these scores, average them together, and we get 5. For the boys team, we take all of their scores, average those together, and we get 6. Step 2, find the absolute deviations. I've moved these plots onto this slide from the previous slide just to help us out. Remember the mean of the girls team was 5 and the mean of the boys team was 6. So we just input all of our goals into this column. So we have 3 twice, then we have 1 4, then we have 4 5s, and then we have a 10. And on the boys side we have a 2, then a 5, then 3 6s, then a 7, and then 2 8s. So let's start over here on the girl side. We take our goals, we subtract our average, and then we take the absolute value of that difference. So that's negative 2, so it ends up being 2. Same with this one, that's negative 2, and then we take the absolute value, and it becomes 2. So then we have 4 minus 5 gives us negative 1, absolute value gives us positive 1, 5 minus 5 is 0, and that's the same for all of those. And then 10 minus 5 gives us 5. Alright, over here we have 2 minus 6 equals negative 4, and then we take the absolute value, we get 4. 5 minus 6 gives us negative 1, take the absolute value, gives us 1. 6 minus 6 gives us 0 for all 3 of those. Then we have 7 minus 6 gives us 1. 8 minus 6 is 2. Same with that one. Alright, then we move on to the next slide. Step 3, find the mean absolute deviations. Alright, so we take all of our absolute mean deviations from the previous slide for the girls team and we take the average of that. So we get that our mean average deviation for the girls team is 1.25 and our mean average deviation for the boys team is also 1.25. Comparison statements. 1.25 equals 1.25. The variability is equal for both the boys and the girls lacrosse teams. On average, the boy players scored 1 more goal than the girl players. How do we know this? Well, that was the mean at the beginning of the problem. When we took the average goals, we found that boys on average scored 6 goals and girls on average scored 5 goals. Use the following data to answer the next 7 questions. Here we have 2 plots. One has the pages per chapter in Hunger Games, and the other has the pages per chapter in Twilight.